We're following new developments in Germany, where Chancellor Angela Merkel has avoided a major political crisis by negotiating a new immigration deal. She agreed to build transit centers or border camps for migrants and refugees at the southern border with Austria.
The agreement comes after Merkel's interior minister threatened to bring down her coalition if she didn't negotiate Germany's immigration policy. Now, here to help us break it all down, we want to bring in CBSN contributor Alex Kliment. He writes for Signal, a newsletter produced by GZero Media. Now, Alex, so much of her legacy is caught up in immigration, and she has supported the sort of free movement across borders. So why did she agree to this compromise? Did she even have a choice?
Well, she had to agree because, as you said, the Interior Minister, Horst Seehofer, threatened really to bring down her government. He's part of the CSU, which is the sister party to Chancellor Merkel's party. And the issue here is really about where migrants go once they have arrived within Europe, right? There are two separate questions. How to keep more migrants from arriving in Europe, but where they go once they've arrived. And the issue here really centered on whether migrants who are registered in other EU countries could come to Germany, as many of them wish to do, because Germany's economy is the strongest, the benefits are the strongest. And her interior minister, who is from Bavaria, where the southern border is in Germany, was under intense pressure from within, from far-right parties in Bavaria to stop the flow of migrants, right? So Chancellor Merkel agreed to this deal, which sets up these processing centers at the border as a way to forestall the pressure coming from within Bavaria. There are really two issues, though. First of all, it's a major concession for Chancellor Merkel to agree to border checks of this kind, right? She has staked her policy, as you say, on the idea of open borders. And let's not forget that the idea of open borders is integral to the idea of the European Union itself. Once you start setting up borders or border controls and checks, not only does it become hard to decide what you check versus people versus goods and other things, but also you open the way for other governments in Europe that are more skeptical or opposed to migration to set up border controls of their own. And it's a slippery slope to really reimposing the borders that the EU was meant to erase.
Especially if a leader like Germany is the one that's leading the way on something like that.
Right.
And Alex, let me ask you about this new compromise. What does it do, and what does it mean for migrants who want to either go through Germany or pass through Germany, through the southern side?
So according to the compromise, if you have been registered in another European country, and remember, most of the refugees arrive in the southern European countries, in the Mediterranean, right, of course, or in the Balkans.
Greece.
Or Greece, of course. So if you are registered in another European country, the German authorities are now empowered to stop you and return you to the country of first registration. Now, not surprisingly, a lot of the countries in southern Europe are not going to be happy about that, right? Because their argument is, we're bearing the brunt of the refugee flows, we need the rest of Europe to shoulder more of the burden.
So what's behind this push now, though? If immigration is down, if crime is down, why is there this push at this moment?
Well, the peak of the refugee crisis, of course, was in 2015 and 2016. The number of arrivals has fallen something like 96% since then. But the political forces that rose on the back of the migrant crisis, the far-right groups, in particular the AfD, which is the far-right party in Germany, they did very well in the first electoral cycle after that migration peak, and now they're making their politics heard on this issue. And you see this across Europe. Again, the numbers are down substantially, but the echo of that original crisis in 2015, 2016 is now being felt politically.
We've seen a little bit of the challenges, obviously, she's facing within her own country. How is that going to extend to outside? She's got the NATO summit coming up. You know, her and President Trump have butted heads a little bit. How is this going to affect the way she's dealing with other countries?
Well, look, I mean, the big question for Merkel is, you know, she, over the past several years, has really been the de facto leader of Europe. But leading Europe is an exercise in constantly herding cats, right? You have 28 countries, all with increasingly divergent views on key issues like migration policy, economic reform, and all of these things. It certainly doesn't help Chancellor Merkel to go into a meeting with Trump or in a broader kind of NATO format in a situation where there are questions about European unity, because European unity plays at some level into NATO unity as well, and particularly given some of the comments that President Trump has made, skeptical about the value of NATO, it makes things harder for her as she goes into that summit.
The dynamics of the summit are going to be just incredible.